Sophia Janelle Taylor, and I am Flint. Years ago, when I was a very little bitty girl, my grandmother used to live on this street. It's called Wood Street. And the community, everybody was so close. The elderly looked after the little children. There were neighborhood stores and shoe shines, and there were places for the children to play. It was awesome. The memories will forever be inside of my mind. Well, a few years, I can't even think of how old I was. They came in and they basically removed everybody from the neighborhood. They asked everybody to move out. They gave them a little piece of change and told them to relocate, and that's what happened. So as years went on, I would look over and I saw all of those houses that I remember being a little girl being torn down, and it was just rubbish, just dirt, just sitting there for years and years and years. And so I would drive by with my parents and wonder, well, why did they make Gamma move? Because that's what we call my grandmother. Why did they make Gamma move if they weren't going to do anything with the neighborhood? Well, here we are, like literally 30 years later, and they're finally doing something with it. Well, for so many years, the neighborhood where my grandmother lived, it looked like this, but only worse. There was just dirt and rubbish, and it was a breeding ground. It was a breeding ground for mischievous people, shall I say. Well, you know, we didn't know what was going on. Well, I was a kid. Maybe the adults knew the bigger plan, but I was a child and I didn't get it. Well, here we are years later. You know, it's looking like this, but if you look around, there's development going on everywhere. You know, there's good energy going on everywhere. We can feel the plan. We know what's going on now, and we're so excited about it after so many years. My grandparents, but I'll start off with my grandmother, which lived on Wood Street. I do believe that one of her brothers came here for employment, and it was 17 of them. And so one came, and then the other came, and so on and so on. And that's how the Skinner family actually wound up residing in Flint, Michigan. And then on my father's side, the Taylor side, the same thing kind of happened there. You know, his family, they relocated. They heard that there were jobs, plentiful. You know, and so they all just started relocating, and for the most part, it was a General Motors family on both sides of the fence. My grandmother didn't work at General Motors, but I think her father did for a second. How does that happen? He was born in 1806, but anyway, no, just kidding. But for the most part, it was a General Motors family, and that's how everybody came to reside here in Flint. And I hear the stories, I've heard the stories so often till it makes me feel like I was living in those times, and I hear how the city was just, oh, popping and jumping, and you know, it was so friendly. Everybody was friendly, and everybody helped raise each other's children. And I'm telling you, baby, we didn't lock no doors. We didn't have to lock no doors, you know? She talks about how there was no violence in the neighborhood because everybody just had that, yeah, Jesus. So before I moved back to Flint, I was living in Georgia by way of Los Angeles. I've always been a real estate investor. I would purchase houses here in Flint, and I would rent them out, or every now and then I would sell a couple, but Flint's been good to me. You know, a lot of people say what they want to say, but it's been really, really good. Well, I relocated back home because just like a lot of people with this economy, when the economy faltered, you know, you had to make some adjustments. And so I moved back to Flint. But in my move, I decided to take the things that I had learned and turn it into a reality television show, and I created a show called Rehab in the Hood, and it's a home improvement show. It's one of those HGTV type of television shows, and I go in and I show the whole process. I show people what I do. I show them from the beginning how I'm looking at houses, how I look at the foundation, and I look at the structure to make sure that it's good. And you know, I show the bidding process, and then if I win it, I'm all, I won the house, and you know, and so then it shows me and my team rehabbing it, tearing it apart and putting it back together again, showing us taking it from a house to a home, you know, so people can come in and live in it. But not only do we rehab the hood with the houses, but we try to teach people lessons that you can do this too. You know, it's been a wonderful, wonderful process and a wonderful project, and we have such great hopes for the show and the city and everybody that's been involved in it. So it's been wonderful being here, you know. No place else have I been where properties are cheaper, you know, where the city is open to kind of whatever you want to do. I've never seen a place like Flint, Michigan. And I've traveled. I'm pretty well traveled, and I've never seen anything like it. You can't buy lots for the price that they're selling them in Flint. But I also know that it won't always be this way. The prices are changing due to what's going on in the neighborhood, all the rehabbing that's happening. So we're just happy to see the city come back, and I'm happy to be a part of the change. It's wonderful. I am Flint.